are. Episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3. It always really freaks me out when you do that, because as soon as the music goes out, you look at me and it's like a slow-mo with your eyes.
Well, I don't know who's going to talk first, you or me.
Oh, that's true. But you don't need to do it so intensely.
No, I mean, it's always me that talks first.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's true. Yeah, you do that.
So
episode 3.
Episode 3.
Have you been this week?
Have I been?
Yeah.
Oh, you actually care this week?
I know. I thought I'd be nice this week and ask.
Oh, thanks. This week has been busy, obviously, as always. Lots of filming going on, as per usual. Got to film you yesterday. Mm-hmm. Got to be in a couple of those videos yesterday, which was good fun.
Yeah.
And I got to see myself in a downward dog as well, which
For the first time.
For the first time, which was shocking, actually. It's amazing how you don't look like what you think you look like.
No, you never do.
No. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I want my downward dog to be good. So...
it's a downward dog. Doesn't matter what it looks like. I know that's how it feels.
Yeah, I know. But it definitely felt a lot better.
Yeah.
So yesterday we were doing some little 10-minute sort of workshop-y type things, weren't we?
Yeah.
Little videos for Breathe Online. And Amy just breaks down the poses. So obviously she was tweaking me into various positions. And it definitely felt a lot better.
Good.
So I think...
It's kind of my job. It'd be embarrassing if it felt worse afterwards, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know. But in a class, I don't think you have time to go through that.
No, yeah.
So I think these little 10-minute videos are going to be really good.
Yeah.
And they helped me. Practice this morning was a lot better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a hard practice.
Yeah.
So I did one of Amy's classes this morning as well. And it was hard.
You did. My lovely classes at the yoga bar.
Yes, it was a yoga bar class.
It was a yoga bar class. So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing again for me this week, is that we've gone back into lockdown, which means, I know, right? With the presidential election, I completely forgot about COVID for like an entire week. But yeah, so we've gone back into lockdown, which means that my classes that we have been able to kind of being taken place in studios are now being done online again from home. But it was lovely. It was a really nice, busy class this morning.
It was really busy.
Yeah, really nice.
Everyone seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was good. I'm not sure you enjoyed. Well, after the second
It's very hard work.
It's hard. 2 days of solid yoga is quite a lot, isn't it?
No, it was lovely though. I always enjoy teaching that class.
Good.
Yeah.
It's good to enjoy.
So who do we have on the podcast today?
So, well, today, funny, we've been just talking about the yoga bar. We have Gemma on today, who is the owner of the yoga bar. So let's try and bring her on. Obviously, the second time we've ever done a guest.
Yeah.
First time worked, so there's no reason why this time shouldn't work.
Yeah,
all right?
we'll see.
All right, let's hit the button.
Yay!
And here she is. Welcome.
Hi, Gemma.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I am okay. thank you.
Okay, yeah. I feel like this week for studio owners is probably not going to get much better than okay this week.
Yeah, I think I would be lying if I was any chirpier than that.
Yeah, I think that's very much allowed. But yeah, it has, another full-on week for everyone. Well, everyone in general, but everyone kind of in the wellness and yoga world, especially studio owners and people that are teaching classes out there in real life. That's changed again. But it's gone well this week, right? It's the transition back to online's gone really well.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I think given that we've done it once before, we kind of know where we know what we're doing this time.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot smoother in terms of the transition between the two, because, last time around it was you, Amy, that actually even mentioned Zoom. I can remember that was literally the first time I was like, what, Zoom?
I remember that class.
Yeah. And, now it's probably like Zooming is in the Oxford Dictionary or whatever. So with a lot of help from you guys, we set everything up within a week, but everything was new then, whereas now it's just really established. So it's kind of, we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty calm, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. And numbers and things like that have been really good for classes, and it's nice because I think, no one, maybe there are a few people that would prefer online classes. I think there's definitely pros
absolutely.
to online classes. You know, personally, I quite enjoy rolling out of bed in the morning and being able to go to a class and not travel, which is quite nice. And I think as a participant, that would be the same as well. You know, it's especially as it gets darker and colder and you don't really want to leave your house. You don't need to now. You can do that online. But it's nice to know that there's still numbers in the classes. There's still people that, you know, yes, we prefer face-to-face, but this is a really good option that is well executed for now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think because we offer the stream classes from the studio now as well, it's kind of got maybe those people that might have been a bit not unsure about doing a stream class.
Yeah.
Have kind of seen it in action in the studio when it's being done and you know, hosted from there. So hopefully it makes them feel a little more kind of comfortable with doing it completely online. So
yeah, I think so. So the first first real question that we ask anyone on the podcast is, where did your kind of wellness/yoga journey start? Where did it begin for you?
Yeah, so I think it began in Shepherd's Bush in my early 20s, and I was living there and I liked the idea of yoga, and there was a teacher who taught literally just across the road from me.
Yeah.
And she would do classes, including very early morning classes, which is not my forte. But I got up for them.
Well done.
And which says something about how much I enjoyed it. So I think that's really when I got the bug, and I haven't really looked back. You know, I think there's times when I've done more yoga and times when I've done less, but it's kind of always felt like home, really. When I come back to it. So
no, definitely.
That's where it started.
Oh, you got a cough?
Yeah, it was like
it
was a cough / sneeze there. And obviously, so you are a barrister as well, which is a very, very full-on job, I would imagine. I have no idea, but it sounds very, very full-on. So do you find that having a yoga practice, even if it's not daily, kind of helps you to take a bit of a pause sometimes and gives you a bit of space?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think, it's kind of the thing that keeps me sane, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I find it, I mean, I do mindfulness as well, but I personally find yoga kind of a better form of mindfulness, if you know what I mean. I just find it easier to actually get into that. So, that is the way I switch off. And I mean, you know, funnily enough for me, even though I've got my own studio, I'm probably doing more yoga. I've probably done more yoga since it's all gone online than I have when it was at the studio, because it's just easier for me to fit it in around my other job. So you know, I do think for some people it's been a real blessing having that kind of come about.
No, definitely. So, and I think you're quite similar to me in a way, in that, you know, I could sit and meditate for a little while. I couldn't sit there for any huge length of time. But for me, I'm able to have much more of an efficient time out, and I'm able to kind of step away from day to day through moving. And that for me, I need to get on my mat, I need to move around a little bit, and then I can switch off a little bit more. But for me to sit and meditate straight away off the bat is really, really difficult.
Yeah, actually, you know, honestly, for me, I think it's the breathing as well. It's the combination of everything together with the breathing, especially if you're doing the Ujjayi breath. I find that just unbelievably helpful in terms of just, you know, getting everything out of your head, really. And obviously, if you're focusing also on what the teacher's telling you to do, it means that you don't necessarily as easily have all those thoughts drifting through your head that you do with mindfulness. So I think it's wonderful.
It's nice to be told what to do, isn't it?
It's really nice.
It is. I find that hugely, isn't it? In my own practice, if I've just sat on my mat to move around a little bit, I'll get distracted. I'll go and make a cup of tea. I'll be thinking, okay, what comes next? There's the part of my brain that's always, okay, what am I doing next? And then, okay, I need to remember this for the other side. Whereas actually, once you're in a class, whether it's online or in the studio, you get told what to do, and it's really freeing.
Yeah, it's really nice. Although I would say that's probably the one bit where I find online is not necessarily so good as in studio, because I think we sometimes cheat a little bit when we're at home.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially if we're not on video. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes I decide I just have a day where I just don't really want anyone to see me.
Yeah.
And
Turn the video
then
off.
I notice I'm definitely not working quite as hard as I would be if I was
Yeah.
in the studio. So there's pros and cons.
There is that. This morning it was really funny. I had someone in class and we did a side plank on one side, and then we came onto the other side and I saw the person sit down. And I was like, Anna, get back up into that side plank. And she was like, damn it, they have the camera on.
I'm on camera.
Which I love. I found that hilarious. Yeah, no, you are right. Like there's more distraction available online. So I think it takes even more self-discipline.
Like you pick your phone up or...
Yeah.
Or if you have one of your cats walking on your yoga mat, you know, that has definitely happened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, Antonia that we had on last week, like 2 dogs and a cat.
2 cats.
2 cats. Yeah. Well, three dogs and a cat.
And she teaches online, and it's so funny. They just sit at the edge of her mat and they just stare at her like this.
Aww,
and they just, and then they'll
better behave than my ones.
They're so good. And then they walk on during Shavasana, don't they? And they just lie down next to her. And
wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Gosh,
it's like
well
Dr.
trained.
Dolittle of the yoga world. It's amazing. So we kind of have brought you on and introduced you, but we didn't really tell anyone who you are.
Yes.
So obviously your name is Gemma, but you are the kind of founder and owner of the yoga bar in Twickenham, the studio.
Yeah.
Why did you open a studio?
And why Twickenham?
Yeah.
Okay, so so I qualified as a barrister in 2007, and the studio actually opened about 2 years ago, but I was probably planning to open it for about a year and a half before that.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I did it at the time, well, there were a lot of reasons why I did it. I didn't feel like there was necessarily anywhere in the area that I felt like I could enjoy a yoga class in a sort of really beautiful, calming environment that was sort of specifically tailored to yoga, and sort of knowing that you'd have great teachers as well. And I felt really strongly that that was something that I wanted to create for not just myself, but other people in the area.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't live in Twickenham, I live in Kew Gardens. So originally I was kind of looking at Richmond and expensive rent.
Yeah.
And it just, when I looked around Twickenham, that it just didn't feel like there was anywhere that was offering that. I mean, it's amazing that you can do yoga anywhere, and that you can just do it in a church hall or a community centre. But it's nice to be able to offer that place, as I say, where kind of everyone's coming together for the same purpose, and just creating something really inclusive for people. So that's kind of how it came about. And I think also I thought that, I really love being a barrister, but I thought, maybe there's other skills, there's other things that would work really well if I'm running my own business as well. So I kind of wanted to challenge myself and see if I could,
like being a barrister is not challenging
have
enough.
a go at running a business in the background, just give it a quick try. But also it's kind of the people, people in their sort of early 20s now kind of do about 5 or 6 different careers, and that's kind of seems to have become a bit of the norm, which I think is unbelievable, really brilliant, because people just aren't kind of stuck and pigeonholed into one thing. So I thought, we can do that too. Yeah, we can do that. So
I can do that. Yeah.
So I gave that a bit of a try.
Yeah.
So
wow.
And it's worked beautifully.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's worked beautifully. And you've won, haven't you, community awards for the studio?
Yeah, we won some awards in the Richmond Business Awards last year, which was really lovely, including for, I think, community service, which was really nice, because that's kind of what we've really tried to focus on, is making it a place where it feels like actually, you get to know people that work there and the other people that are going there and the teachers. And we've got our little chill out area where pre-lockdown you could have sit and have cups of tea, you know, 3 cups of tea, and just kind of meet other people. And it is the most amazing feeling when I kind of see people that didn't know each other before sort of walking out of a class together and sort of saying, oh yeah, you know, I'll see you tomorrow for such and such, and you can see that they've sort of made friends. And it's just, I think that's been the loveliest side of it, to be honest, the most rewarding side.
We were saying, actually, I don't know if it was a couple of weeks ago, you came to class at the studio, and I'd done the one class, I'd done my first Sunday morning class because I do a back-to-back, and then we looked out the window of the studio, and four or five of the lovely humans that do my class had left and then gone and walked out together.
Not that we spy on people.
No, we don't spy on
that leave
people.
The studio.
But they'd walked out together and they were having a little socially distanced coffee chat, which was
I mean,
it's so lovely.
It was so lovely.
Having been in the studio quite a few times over recent months, you see that a lot.
Yeah.
Most classes, they'll go over the road, there's a lovely little coffee shop, and people will go over there and they'll sit down, they'll have a nice little chat and a catch up.
Yeah.
And they do that weekly.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And there's some people that about 3 or 4 months ago went on holiday together, which is really...
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
So there was a couple of people that went on like a girls' holiday together, and they didn't know each other before the studio, and it's really lovely. And obviously, you know, it is a bit different now, but pre all of this situation that we're in at the moment, there's, you know, several members that come to that studio, and someone is brand new for the first time and comes into a class, and that person would go up to them and say, hi, this is my name, I do lots of the classes here, so if you need a hand with anything, like let me know. And it's really nice that it's not just the, you know, the staff that work there and the people behind the desk and the teachers, it's that people in the class themselves feel like they can take on that role to say hi to people. And
I mean, it's a very calming place. As soon as you walk through the door, it's, you just, all of the weight that was on your shoulders just falls off, and you're just in this, you know, this beautiful space.
Every time I walk in there, every single time I'm like, I wish this was my house.
Yeah, I mean, you walk into some studios and you're like... Ooh.
The interior is just the most beautiful thing. Like, it is genuinely, like, I've taught in a few studios, and it's just the most lovely studio. Like, it's very, all the colours and everything's just really well put together. It's designed beautifully. And I think that comes across when you walk in.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I just think that it's something that we don't have... Living in this part of the world near London, I just don't think it's something that we have very much. And I mean, I'm just as bad as other people, you know, when I pre-lockdown was on the tube and kind of, you know, headphones on, not talking to anybody. There's this kind of, you know, everybody's got their own life, and, you know, there's no kind of linkage between people. People don't necessarily know their neighbours or whatever. So it's been really lovely to kind of actually try and create something completely different that I think maybe was more how it was in times gone by a bit, where people actually kind of come together somewhere and sort of get to know each other. So yeah, it is really lovely, and actually it kind of it doesn't feel like it's sort of my studio. It kind of feels like our studio, because everybody's contributing to it, really. As you say, even the members are kind of, it almost sometimes feels like they sort of work there a bit as well, because they're kind of doing part of the work for us and kind of encouraging everybody. So so it's been pretty special. So
and I think it really demonstrates how important, especially at the moment, it is to have community. I think so many people, obviously, you know, technically we're all in this kind of situation externally together, but our internal situation, I think, is vastly different from person to person, depending on your circumstances. And I think having community there for you, and, you know, seeing the same faces online at yoga every week, and, you know, people have a little chat and they wave to each other as they log on, and I think that's really important.
It's that continuity as well, isn't it?
Sorry, John, I was interrupting. I was saying, what I think's really interesting is that since we reopened before we shut again this week, we've had so many new people, and I think that's really interesting, that actually maybe the lockdown has encouraged a lot of people, not just in terms of looking after their own health and well-being, but maybe that they're out there looking for connection as well as a result of lockdown. So it's been really lovely to feel like it's still kind of growing and evolving. So
and like you said earlier, like continuity, I think it's really important for people, because it's maybe the only form of routine people have at the moment. They go to...
Absolutely. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen.
No, exactly.
You really don't.
But
yoga
class, you've got your class on Sunday at 9:15, and that's what's going to happen, and that's going to stay running no matter what, whether it's in person or not. And I think that's really calming for people. I think that really settles people a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. So you're in the world of law and you're in the wellness world. Have you ever thought about leaving the world of law and going full on wellness, having loads of studios and just going, just
empire.
Jumping in, having a yoga empire?
When I opened the studio, I had no idea how I would feel, because, I kind of thought either I'm going to feel like, actually this isn't for me at all. Or I'm going to feel like this is absolutely amazing and I want to do this kind of full time. So that's kind of how I went into it. And I was open to sort of both possibilities, but I knew I wouldn't really know until I started. And to be totally honest, I still can't give you the answer, because it's only been 2 years, and it's been the most roller coaster, unpredictable year that you could imagine this year. But actually what's been really interesting, how I would describe it at the moment, is that instead of one or the other, I've actually seen all of the pros and cons of both of them. So they're both like this, they're both exactly like this, because one of the wonderful things actually in many ways is that it's made me appreciate lots of things about my job as a barrister, which I didn't really appreciate before, because that was all I ever knew. But the kind of the independence, being self-employed, and that kind of thing. But then equally in terms of the yoga studio, people actually walk away happy, whereas in the world of family, in the world of family law, which is the most emotional area of law, really, I think. People, even if they get a good result, it's not really a happy place. So in terms of the kind of the value, so I would say, in a funny kind of way, if anything, the answer is no, but because I actually think that there's pros and cons to doing both of them. There's advantages to both, and it is a bit sort of the yin to the yang. So I actually think kind of one of them bolsters the other in terms of kind of keeping those careers going and keeping appreciating everything about each of them at different times. So as I say, I mean, I can't speak for what will happen in the future, but that's definitely how I'm feeling at the moment. So.
I think it's such a huge achievement as well for a studio to have been open for 2 years, a year being in a middle of a pandemic, and still be open.
And thriving.
Yeah, because as we know, unfortunately, there are studios around us that have closed. There's a few studios around us that have had to close, and all across the whole of the UK, and I'm sure other places, I'm sure across Europe, I'm sure across America as well. So I think it's a testament really to the studio, and obviously yourself as the founder and the owner, that it's managed to stay on track, to stay open. I think that's a huge thing. I was going to give you a little clap for Jono there.
It's not been easy, and then obviously you kind of, you think you've weathered the storm, and then there's another storm. But it's just, what's very interesting, I think, is kind of how I felt this week in comparison to how I felt in March. When we had we had to make the decision to shut the studio. And that was when we did it sort of absolutely having to do it, but when we thought it was right to do it, and just having all of this kind of upheaval and the sort of the anxiousness that I felt about it all, versus this time, which just feels really kind of, oh, okay, well, you know, we've been through this, we can get through this again. And it's so that, I mean, gosh, that lesson as a business owner is so valuable to know, you know, to know that you can get through that, this kind of additional level of resilience and faith, I think, as well. And, you know, not feeling worried in a way, because I just feel like this is, you know, it's something that's working, and it's just gonna
work itself out.
That's just so so that's been the difference and the learning process, I would say.
Because I remember that I think it was a Sunday morning class. I remember that Sunday. I remember us thinking, okay, it might have to be really soon. And I remember after the class, it was me and you in the room and maybe one other person, and we both just looked at each other and had a little bit of a meltdown. I
think that's an understatement.
I think we both were on the floor. It was a huge meltdown. And because it was just the feeling of, what do we do now? You know, and I hate the word, it's just bandied about every half an hour at the moment, unprecedented. But it is, or it was, and there was just this feeling of the ground being pulled from underneath you, and I don't know what we do now. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know where we go from here. And I mean, thank God I have you. And Jono was like,
thank God I had both of you as well.
Jono was like, we've got this. We can do this and this and this. And I was like, I'm going to pass it on to Gemma. And I was like, Gemma, we've got this, very shakily. And it was within a week. It was the turnaround of a week. And I mean, you know, I think also it was one of the things that made it so difficult was because, you know, it just felt like everything was calming down, you know, been open for sort of a year and a half, and kind of, it's just, you know, it just kind of feels like now it's all working without the kind of same level of sort of input, and just, you know, it's just kind of calmly chugging along in the background. And then that happened. So yeah, it was a really big shock, but I think it's also just, you know, I think it's kind of it's that ability to just go, okay, you know, take a breath. Now, what do we do now? How do we adapt? It's all about adaptation.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we've really, again, just the fact that, you know, even when we reopened, that we've got all of the video equipment that we've invested in to have this great video equipment with John's help as well. You know, and to create what I think is like a really high-tech setup that I think will, you know, I think that will last, that will carry on. People will always, I think, want some of them to do stream classes, but it's, you know, taking those kind of decisions, difficult decisions, but because you have to kind of be looking to the future, and what do I do next? How do I make this better? How do I make the best of this situation? So, you know, I feel that as a studio, and frankly also down to my staff a lot for managing it like really brilliantly, because obviously I can't do everything myself. No. So, you know, so they've really helped with that. And it feels buoyant. It's felt buoyant this year, actually, which has been wonderful.
And I think that's just such a good, or two kind of key lessons really to not just in terms of business, but, you know, in day-to-day life. And probably two of the most important things that I've learned through my own practice as well is kind of adaptation and resilience. I think they're huge things to learn. And if, you know, it was kind of pulled from underneath you, but if you can learn that really early on as a business, it's like the ultimate stress test. You love numbers, you love figures and things like that. It is the ultimate stress test for a business.
Yeah, I don't have a stress test for what happened.
No.
Well, I was doing the mindfulness class that I was doing this week, and the teacher was talking about equanimity.
And good word.
Basically, so sort of calmness in difficult situations. And it really it was really resonant, because I it was resonant in my own life, and I thought, oh, that's what I really want to develop, you know, in
Yeah.
my personal life, in kind of how I approach situations. But it also made me think, oh, actually, maybe, you know, I've kind of achieved that in
Yeah.
Yeah,
terms of the
absolutely.
running of the studio. But yeah, so gosh, I mean, that's an amazing thing to hopefully be kind of working on and in myself as a result of this. So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
definitely.
You'd be like a little Yoda,
Yeah.
floating around a
I
little cushion
feel
of
like I
calm.
have it outwardly. So like when I'm teaching, even if something goes wrong in a class, I
Not
feel
to
like
me, you don't.
no, but like to everyone participating, everyone's like, so many people have been like, you looked so chilled and you look like everything was fine. And my legs underneath are like this. And inside I'm freaking out.
Oh, Amy, I can tell you, I mean, I do that in court.
Yeah.
You know, I have my like clients say to me, oh, but you're so calm, Gemma. And I'm thinking, you have no idea what's going on in my head.
My liver is falling out, is how I
Yeah.
feel right now. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Jono's like the only person that really sees the legs going underneath.
dark side.
The dark side.
Yeah.
Jono likes
Yeah.
to call it. Yeah. The legs floundering and the panic underneath.
Yeah, I don't get that.
No, you don't, do you?
Nope.
You're not a panicker at all.
I'm not panicking. It's my yogi
He's
mindset.
very calm.
Yeah. He always likes to say he's better at yoga than I am.
I am the yogi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
is.
that's a very interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
I mean, it is really, you know, because, you know, I can get into some interesting shapes and I can move myself around like a pretzel. But actually, in a crisis, Jono sat there like, it's fine.
Then I start levitating.
Yeah, everything will work itself out. So actually, yeah, Jono's probably got yoga down more than I do actually.
Oh my goodness.
I know, write it down, put it on a t-shirt. It's never
I'm
been
going to get
said
one of those
again.
No,
little
it's recorded.
video
It's recorded,
frames.
guys. He's going to play that back to you, Amy, every time.
Damn it.
Anyway, at the wedding, this is coming out.
Oh, God. The other thing that I was really interested to ask you as well, actually, is obviously you are a woman in business. And I mean, obviously you've been kind of in the law community as a self-employed woman in business as well. Did you find it in any way a challenge when kind of opening the studio, when looking to open the studio? Did you get any pushback? Did you find actually that wellness is quite female dominated and you felt more open and accepted for it? Or did you feel a bit of pushback and a bit of resistance because you are a woman in business that's opening a studio? I mean, I'd like to think that the answer is absolutely a flat out no, but I can guarantee it probably isn't.
It's very interesting that you say that, because I think I'm very lucky actually with I'm talking about the law first, the area of law that I'm in. As a family barrister, you know, there's an awful lot of women in it anyway, and you know, I feel pretty lucky to be able to say that I really can barely think of any occasions where I've felt sexism in the kind of legal world that I'm in, and you know, that may be very different in other areas of law. Coming into it as a woman, it's interesting because actually I felt it was more to do with the fact that it was a new business rather than to do with the fact that I was female. That there was inevitably some pushback, mainly I think just in terms of getting a space, because you know, people do not want to rent from a new business that has no track record. So I think it would be difficult for me to distinguish and kind of pinpoint and say, that was, you know, definitely a result of me being a woman, because I felt that actually the way that I pushed through those things was as a result of, I could actually kind of rely on my background and say, you know, okay, I haven't run a business before, but in a way I have, because I'm self-employed. You know, we kind of have to generate in a way our own work and our own reputation. So I would always kind of try and link those skills over. And so I didn't feel like it was an impediment in that sense, but perhaps because I wasn't kind of, you know, because I was focusing on the things that I could kind of bring that sort of deflected from that. But no, so, you know, other than that, as I say, just in terms of maybe people taking you seriously at the beginning, I really haven't experienced it. And I'm very, very happy to say that.
It's really nice to hear, because it was interesting. It was a year or 2 years ago. I found out very recently, so obviously not in your studio, but in major London studios, male instructors on average are paid 18% more than female instructors.
You're joking.
Which I found really interesting.
That's baffling.
Because it's strange, because when you think about it, if you look at the idea of kind of the guru in yoga and the lineage of yoga, it's not always, but it seems to be very, very male centric and male driven. And now in terms of modern yoga, actually a lot of people perceive it as a very female dominated business and area. So I was kind of flabbergasted, because I thought, but there's way more women that teach. Or maybe that's just my experience. I know a lot more female teachers.
It's my experience as well. You know, we've definitely, you know, sometimes struggled to get male teachers on board. There seem to be less of them about. So I'm really surprised by that. But that is reflective of the gap in society across the board, though.
And I was like, why is that the case? And apparently, I won't name studios, but apparently there are studios that when they put, say, workshops and things like that out, the male workshops sell out quicker than the female workshops, which I find again very interesting. And I don't know if it's the role of male as teacher. I don't know if it's just those teachers are extremely popular in their own right, regardless of their gender or how they identify. But yeah, massively.
I mean, it could just simply be supply and demand.
Yeah.
You know, there's less male teachers.
Yeah.
You know, so they're like, oh, well, that's a bit different.
Yeah.
Okay, as a business, we can charge more for that.
Yeah. But even then, that is still supporting the idea. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
But you do. We do have male teachers at the yoga bar, though. We've got a good few guys now at the yoga bar that teach.
I mean, they are very, very popular.
Yeah.
But we have female teachers that are very, very popular as well, including yourself, Amy. So it's not. I haven't noticed. And I do keep a kind of annoyingly anal eye on the numbers.
Yeah.
And I haven't noticed.
I haven't noticed
that. For me, it's completely down to the teacher and the slot and the type of yoga and everything. But if you can get that right, I haven't noticed a divide.
And I think it's quite at the yoga bar. I've noticed an upward trend as well of more men coming to practice. Of more men coming to class, because
and more men doing not just yoga, but doing
bar and things like that.
And things like that. And I'm like, wow.
We've got a lot of men doing bar now, which is unbelievable. I mean, when we first opened, we actually offered a men's yoga class.
Yeah, I remember.
And a Pilates class taught by a man, because we were really trying to encourage guys to get into that. But it actually, interestingly, then got to the point where we didn't need to do that, because they were going to all the normal classes anyway. Exactly, which is, it's much better. I like that, because you're not differentiating between.
Because then there's just a natural integration.
Yeah, well, I mean, my family is testament to that. I mean, since lockdown, now my brother-in-law does yoga. We got him into it down in Devon. Yeah, he does our yoga foundations class religiously, and my boyfriend as well. He's into it. So it's been really interesting to kind of see that you can, and actually I would say that having the online classes, I think is particularly good for guys, because they don't feel so self-conscious if they're doing it online to start with.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's kind of a pathway in, isn't it, that feels pretty safe for... And just in general, if you've not done much yoga or you're new to fitness in general.
Because it can be intimidating walking into a studio.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Seeing all these yogis.
Yeah.
With their mats all rolled out and their bits and pieces.
Yeah. All your props, your bolster and your 10,000 bricks and things that we can't use now. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, because as well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because I'm like, 5'4" and I'm quite petite. But I have a lot of guys after my classes be like, Christ alive, that was hard work. We did not.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, that you'll have people that do like rugby or football or things like that, and they come in and they're like, I can do yoga. And we have it with dancers as well here at the ballet school. And they're like, yeah, I'm flexible. I can do this. I can do that. And you put them in a yoga class and they just like, their sweat's dripping off them and they're in pieces by the end of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
but in a way, I think that's actually really good because I think they then like the challenge.
Yeah.
Because I think, again, the guys that I'm thinking of, are super fit in a cardio sense, much fitter than me, by miles. But put them on a yoga mat.
Yeah. I love it. I love it at the end when I love it. The women sit up and they're like, yeah, I'm great. This is fine. I've hardly broken a sweat. And the guys are lying there in puddles, which I think is the best thing ever. I think it's a massive compliment. I love it.
Yeah.
It makes me very, very happy in a class when that happens. I just like to prove everyone wrong. So yeah, it is interesting. But I do think it's a really nice balance that, the studio has, because also you have male bar teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And and you have, there really is integration. There's male bar teachers, there's female teachers that teach maybe classes, power classes and things like that. And there's just not really, there's no bar there. There's not really a type there. No.
So you're not going to walk into a class and expect to see someone and see that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is nice, because then as you walk into a studio, I think most people will be able to see themselves represented in that studio. And I think that's unbelievably important, especially with everything that's happened this year as well, and just kind of this more kind of awareness that we have in workplaces about the representation and why that's important. And I think it's really nice that is there, male, female, non-binary, there's something there for everyone. So no one walks into a class and feels like, well, this is a girly class, or walks into a class and feels like, oh, this is a guy's class. There just isn't that, which is really nice.
And I think that also I was really concerned when I set up the studio that there is a sort of a perception of yoga as being, beautiful bendy girls, doing amazing poses by the sea, on a beach, which is actually really not promoting what yoga's all about at all. Because the whole idea is that it should be inclusive and that everybody should be able to do it. And so we have really, really tried, even just with kind of the imagery on our website and everything, to just be focusing on actually the people that we actually get coming to our classes who are of all ages and backgrounds, and that it doesn't have to be this sort of beautiful thing that you can only do if you're super flexible. Yeah, exactly. So
no, but it's true, and it's quite tough because I am the idea of yoga.
All right.
The stereotype is what I mean by
Let's
that.
Just get you down from up there, shall we?
But as in the fact that if to look at me, I'm I was going to say I'm like late 20s. I'm not late 20s anymore. I'm early 30s.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's still very young.
Early 30s, I'm white, I'm female, I'm of a slim build. So I am kind of the very, very stereotypical yoga teacher.
But it's okay because you don't sound like one.
No, I know.
Very common.
Yeah. It is very true. And it's interesting because I think so many people, I don't know if it's maybe when teachers are female as well in general, people expect to go to their classes and be really kind of nurtured. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. It doesn't tend to be what I do. There is a bit of that, but it's very Jono's looking at me like, no, there's none of it. That you're not a nurturer
not
at all.
No, that's
you're a bully. But there's that side to my teaching. But I'm very much kind of about the anatomy and making the body work really hard, and kind of getting people to understand how just incredible their bodies are and how strong they are and how capable they are. And that doesn't mean you need to do everything. But yeah, it's interesting. The expectation.
Yeah, and I think also because I think the teachers that we've got at the studio, they're not. I wouldn't sort of call them sort of traditionalist kind of yogis.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are feeling like there are rules that have to be followed, and downward facing dog must look this way, or that kind of thing. And you're the same, Amy, with some of the ways that you teach poses. There's poses that I think you don't really like how they're meant to be done, because you don't think that's good for people's bodies from what you know about anatomy. And I think that's brilliant. And I think all of that again kind of creates this sort of inclusive. It doesn't, you don't have to look perfect. It's how you feel and the impact that it's having on the individual body.
Yeah. So. And I just think we've seen it this year hugely in how we offer the practice. I just think it has to keep evolving. It has to evolve.
I don't think we're there yet necessarily at all. I don't.
No, but I do think for yoga to be as prevalent and for yoga to still, be being practiced in however many hundreds of years, it has to evolve.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can hold it to teachings of 1,000 years ago. I think it's okay to still have those ideas and that essence in there, and to respect the lineage and the teaching whilst evolving it into a different direction as well.
Yeah, it's important to understand where you've come from, but it's also important to see where you're going.
Yeah, that was very deep.
Yeah,
that was
very deep.
But that's we have that in law as well, right? The law developed.
Yeah.
So, happens everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The parallels between law and yoga.
I know.
Who would have thought?
Who knew that was happening? Yeah.
Huh. Well, I think that brings us to the end of episode 3,
I know,
doesn't
right?
it?
Law, yoga.
Yeah.
Held together.
That's it. So, thanks for coming on, Gemma. And
Thank you
people
for having me. It was actually really interesting.
Yeah, it was lovely chat. I really enjoyed it.
It was. We love a chat.
We do love a chat. I love a bit of a natter.
So anybody that's interested in find out more about the yoga bar, yogabar.com.co.uk.
.co.uk.
So,
and on Instagram as well, because everyone does everything on Instagram now.
At the yoga bar. And there's loads of pictures so you can see what it's like, and just jump on a class, guys. Book from the website, get on there.
Yeah, go for a class. And if you're it's a nice way just for your class not to be faceless. If you go to a studio class, there's going to be people that say hi to you, and then you're going to see
John will
faces.
probably be in the class, to be honest.
Most likely.
Yeah, you do partake in a few.
I do, yeah.
Jono practices yoga way more than I do. Way more than I do. Yeah, you're very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, thank you so much, Gemma. It was lovely to chat to you.
Yeah.
Have a lovely rest of your Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Just lie horizontal for a while after this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. So, well, speak to you soon.
Yeah. Bye, Gemma.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, that's it then. Episode 3 in the bag. I'm not going to do the whoopah that I did last week because I got roasted for that.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
So join us next time, episode 4.
Yeah.
When we'll be talking more wellness, yoga, and everything else.
Yeah.
So we'll see you soon, guys.
Thanks, guys.